my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my art and design foundation course because I've just finished it and I've passed and I'm so happy, so excited to just start my degree. But I thought I'd basically give a rundown of just everything that I did, probably talk about my overall opinion on a foundation course as well at the end. So if you want to see the whole thing about a foundation course, if you're curious or if you're thinking of applying to do one, then make sure to watch the whole video. We had a 9 to 5 Monday, Tuesday and Friday. Wednesday we had digital arts, which is just Photoshop and learning things like that, and sometimes we'd have a lecture, and then on Thursdays we would have our workshops and we'd have a lecture in the afternoon. And the lectures were normally basically contextual studies, or they were preparing you if you wanted to go through UCAS or something again. So those were the talks that we would have on Wednesdays and Thursdays sometimes, but Monday, Tuesday and Friday was 9 to 5. We also had live drawing, which was an hour and a half I think, and that would either be on a Monday, Tuesday and Friday as well. Workshops were 9 to 1 p.m, which I said, and we obviously had a break as well. And basically there are about 10 different things that we would do on rotation. So we'd be put into groups, and every Thursday we'd do one of the 10 different workshops that you could do. So there was wood, metal, plaster, ceramics, laser photography, fabric manipulation, textile print and jewelry. So those were the 10, but then it was spread out if you think about it, because we'd have a like independent study week, we'd have Christmas, we'd have all those things. So if you pick 2 that you want to use for your final major project, and that would be 10 weeks on rotation of just those 2. And so for me, I chose ceramics and I chose print. I kind of knew print because I did it at GCSE and A-level, but ceramics was very new to me and it was really fun. It was really different. It was exciting, you know. We had 6 projects and then we had our final major project. I'm going to be saying final major project a lot because that was just the main thing that you were getting marked on, but we had 3 assessments in between final major project. That's when they're literally marking everything you've done and including your assessments, and then they give you your overall grade as well as an exhibition to show all your work. So that didn't happen, but I will explain what we did instead. 6 projects in total. As we went on, they kind of got longer and longer, the amount of time that we had on them. The first project that we did was drawing and colour, introduction to the course, and I would say it was just good to learn about the different techniques and doing things in a different style that you might not be used to because of college or because you did it at 6th form. So I think it was good for me because I was learning to do stuff in a very quick but detailed way, and even though I was quite used to that kind of pace, because obviously you have to do that when you're doing it in 6th form, it was just a bit different at uni. It was like making sure you get stuff done and just making sure that you don't spend too long trying to make everything perfect, if you know what I mean. Like not putting too much detail, but enough that you're able to see what you're doing. We did a few activities within our groups that we were put in, and that was just really good because we got to know each other and everyone was really nice. And I think that was just one thing I was a bit like nervous. I thought there would be a lot of people who had a lot of experience, and I felt like I did not have a lot of experience with Photoshop. I just was really into painting and drawing, but I learned to get into or embrace different styles. These are just examples of some of the stuff that I did within the first couple of weeks on the course, kind of from going to museums just in the city, getting inspiration from things like that, and then developing it a bit further. Creating colourful backgrounds, because then you don't actually have to add a lot of detail into the images. This lamp one that I did, use ink to do this and just a little bit of pen, but most of it is just the background that is just coming out, and I feel like that's the same for this. Doing the workshops within the projects was good as well, because you could develop something for the project and it could be used within the assessment as well, because people could see it. And I just had a lot of fun doing the workshops, because I've never really produced my own film. You do the film and then you take photos and then you develop it further by actually going into the darkroom and everything like that. I've never done that before, so it was really fun. And pottery as well, like I've seen that before, I've never done it. It was just fun, like molding it and everything like that, and it came out decent, and I was really surprised because it was not that great how I did it, but it was just really fun just doing all these workshops. And you were in groups for that as well, so you were constantly meeting new people. That is something I definitely liked. Second project that we did was construction, a specific animal and a specific type of material. So for me, I had orangutan and I had soft plastic. I was put into a group, and then we had to kind of develop a life-size version of the animal, as well as like a mini version on our own. And we went to the zoo, we developed research to draw these animals. I'll make sure I find a photo of our life-size orangutan to put into this video as well. Within composition, we were doing a lot of prints and creating just different pattern work. It was really nice to do something I was kind of familiar with. Also, we're working in groups and creating shadows and different things like that. Sketchbook type of project, I've forgotten the name for it, but it was basically just going through everything that we had done and just developing anything that we saw. I've got my contextual book, so I can actually show some examples of what I did in the first couple of weeks. I had to make sure I created my own background, and I did some research on this specific artist, as well as putting where I got this information from in the bottom, and making sure to put my response and just making it look nice as well, but making sure I actually write the right stuff down. You don't want to be in that situation where you write the wrong thing. And this is another one as well. Photos of their work, and then you can see my response was looking at I did this drawing in charcoal and paint, and then I created my own version. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was looking at the theme of protecting animals, so I chose to create that message of just protect. You aren't just copying what they are saying, you need to write things in your own words, and you have to write a response and different things like that. So it's important to get it right, and they will tell you if you don't get it right. So quite an important thing that I wasn't even really sure how the assessments were going to work, but basically you needed to make sure you mounted up everything, you had your contextuals, and you were also keeping up to date with your PDF folder, which is just the timetables and different things like that, just making sure that's all neat. And you need to make sure that you are writing in your journal. Final major project journal, but it's just the neatest one that I have because the other ones are just not that good. So this is just an example of what a journal is, but it's kind of self-explanatory. You just write down everything that you're doing and what you're planning on doing, and this is just an example of what I was doing on each week. So making sure to put an evaluation of the week as well. It's important to do that because they actually check and make sure that you are keeping up to date and you're not behind. And so if all of that goes fine and you've done enough work and you've mounted enough work and everything looks good, then they'll sign it off and you've passed that assessment. If not, then you are referred to do whatever catch-up work that you need to do. We also put up 2 of our best pieces, and that was so that we can explain why they are our favorites, and we just have to just talk about them. And this is all done with a group of people, mainly the people that you're probably sitting with. You have to hear feedback from the tutor. You also have to hear feedback from everyone else. After this assessment, you had the choice between fine art, 3D, fashion and textiles, visual communications, and photography. So, as well as the tutor suggesting a pathway for you, everyone else would also suggest what pathway they think you would be good in. So it's actually good because you might not realize that there's potential to be in, I don't know, 3D compared to you thinking that fine art is for you. So for me, I went into the course knowing that I wanted to do graphic design, but I think it was important for me to be open-minded going into the course, and especially in the assessment, hearing what everyone was saying. And a lot of people were suggesting fashion and textiles for me, as well as a tutor. And it's not something that I thought about doing just because I was not very good at doing it. In sixth form, it wasn't. In high school, in sixth form, like, no, I was just not that good at textile. Talking to the tutor was really useful because she kind of explained how there's actually a lot of different sides to fashion and textile which people don't normally know about. And I started to look into fashion communications, which is a bit similar to graphic communications. It's kind of the same thing, but it's more specifically around fashion. So it was really good to just hear about that and just to understand a little bit more what I could do in fashion. I decided to go into the fashion and textile pathway, and I definitely don't regret doing that because it was just really good to see a different side to fashion and textiles, which I wasn't really used to because all I knew about fashion and textile was you do sewing of clothes, and that just wasn't something that I was interested in. But it was really good to see all the different people who were also in that pathway. There was people doing product design, for example, and that's something that I didn't actually think about you could do as a degree. I do have photos of some of the work that I did, and you can also find it on my art page on Instagram, so I will link that below so you can actually read and find out everything about this foundation process, because I talk about everything in a lot of detail. I was doing it as I was going along, so I remember it a bit better than I do now. It's kind of what it sounds like. We just kind of went around the city and we were taking photos, looking at buildings, looking at different designs and patterns within the city, and we would just kind of incorporate that into the pathway that we decided. Creating clothes using the different patterns of drawings that I had done as research. A few examples of the refinement and finished off mounted up pieces that I did for the project. So these are just some of the cutout pieces that I was talking about. That was how I was able to create these dresses, and then I created a top as well, and then I also went on to Photoshop and did these different patterns. End up changing pathways again. It was definitely not seen as a bad thing, it was fine. So I think that was one of the nice things, like you didn't have to change pathways and that's it, you have to stay there, you can change if you want to. The next assessment that I did was after the city project, and I think it was just to make sure that we were all doing okay because it was a bit longer than what we were used to. So before it was a week for every project, but for this project it was 4 weeks long. Contextuals for this project. This is Abby Reynolds, and this is kind of what she does, which is just cutting out and carving and folding her work. And this is an example of something that I created with it was just A3 paper and painted, and then I was just carving and cutting out patterns, and then I created this dress. I write about my response there as well. project 6, and that was global goals. So specifically I was doing good health and well-being. So I actually have a sketchbook for this one, so I don't know where my other sketchbooks went. For this project we were focusing on good health and well-being, different global goals that you could do, but I wanted to do good health and well-being, and specifically focusing on mental health. Then I kind of wanted to focus on social media, and then I thought of the effects of social media. I'll just show you the beginning. So I was looking at fast food and different things like that. Exercise, I kind of did this random bike. Most of the projects we went to just a random city, and so a lot of the backgrounds or a lot of the drawings are related to what I was seeing in the city as well. So these are just some more drawings, and I went to a museum, so that is a little thing I did there. That is a bike. These are some mini drawings that I did of the food. Half drawing of my friend in the city, and then this is just, there was a lot more but they kind of fell off, and this was when I decided to focus more on mental health. So this is just some different ideas that I was having to demonstrate different forms of mental health. This is some of the stuff that I did in digital arts, and it was just my first time. So this is the original drawing that I did, and it says I'm loving it. So it was kind of trying to demonstrate fast food and McDonald's, even though I absolutely love McDonald's. This is kind of a combination of research and development. I was kind of creating complete images and posters straight away, and the whole point of research was trying to do bit by bit. So this is a drawing of the phone strangling someone, but they're still holding it. This is just some more basic things, and it's just social and social media, and it's like feeding person, or the person is feeding it, and then this is just another drawing, but it's just kind of still the same message about social media, but I don't know if it was that clear, so I didn't want to use it. Kind of understood that you needed to do things a bit more slower, and it wasn't all together creating a poster straight away, kind of like how they were at the beginning, but I still really like them. I still really think they're good, but I kind of started working on fonts and different things like that. So and I started looking a bit more at just specific images. So I was drawing phones and just the apps. This is another one, mobile. Research with just different facts about social media, especially with posters, which is what I wanted to focus on. I wanted to make sure I get facts to put onto the posters, not just drawings. So this is one of my, this is probably the main focus of my project. So I used this one image for the refinement and just developing it further. So this is the drawing that I did, and it's just an eye, and it's just got the apps in it. It's kind of simple drawing. I'm going to show some examples of the refinement pieces that I did for project 6. I'll probably just put them in now. One of my favorite things that I actually created, and it's just a large collage of my drawing, and then I took a photo of my hands, and then I kind of combined that to create this, and then this was the overall finished piece, 3D piece. So it was using my drawings, and then I used my phone drawings and I created 3D ones. This is the eye. So with this one, created a face, and then I put don't forget reality, don't be consumed by social media. And then this is just another drawing that I did, and I developed it on Photoshop. People suffer from social media addiction, and then this is just a face. So after doing all of the global goals project, I had my final assessment, and that was good. After that was the final major project, so we started preparing for that. We had quite a long time with the global goals project. We had about 4 weeks, and then we had the holidays, and then we had another week to like finish it off. So we did have quite a while, but I think it was just to prepare us for this final project. This is the most important one because that is where everything is getting marked, and all this preparation was for this moment. And so you can do anything you want with the final project, and I chose to do recycling. I don't know why, but I did, even though it's very broad, you know. But as the weeks went on, I kind of looked into zero waste, and then I looked into like plastic pollution and animals. I actually have these sketchbooks, so it's fine. I can actually just physically show you some of the pieces that I did, and I can also show you some of the development that I was working on. Explain it how it would have to go if there was no pandemic going on. So it did kind of change, but not too much, because I think we got up to like week 8 or something. So it was just before the refinement kind of stages done by that point. The only other thing is that there wasn't any of the workshops that we could access, so we couldn't really work on physical things, but I will explain that a bit later on. About what we're going to do for the 10-week plan. As I said, we did have lectures, so within the lectures they would be talking about things like this, also having the lectures to prepare us for building a portfolio. Whether you moved to a different uni or you stayed, it was important to have a portfolio. It was prepared for interviews and different things like that. So they prepared us for that, and I showed some of the refinement pieces mounted up so you can see how neat it looks and everything like that. And so it was just really good that they helped us in that way. The thing that we did was a statement of intent, and that is, to put it in simple form, it was kind of just explaining everything that we are planning to do, what materials, where we're planning to go, and what contextual artists so far that we were looking at, and the title and everything like that was part of this statement of intent, and you needed to get it right before you could continue. Once all of that is checked off and signed off by the tutors and everything's okay, then you move on to the actual timetable. So for each week you might have planned out what you're going to do. I had a group tutorial, I was going through my statement of intent, I went to visit a museum, I took photos, a life drawing piece using monoprint and collage. So you just put everything down, and then you put your evaluation of the week. London, so I was looking at animals and their habitat and different things like that, how it can be affected. So I created a clay turtle, and that is just the little thing there. It's actually broken now, but that is also the evaluation of the week. Primary research or development. So you can see here that I was still doing primary research and just another workshop that we were doing, and I was just drawing the example of how to do each process. So I remember for a long time. This is part of the development. 3 weeks of research, 4 weeks of development, and then 3 weeks of refinement, but kind of development and refinement a bit more together. Preparing to mount everything up and get everything ready for the exhibition that was gonna take place a couple weeks after everything, and so everyone was gonna come and see their work put up and display, and that didn't happen. But I am just gonna explain primary research bit. The first one, we kind of started to look at zero waste, mainly focus on recycling. I did do some drawings of animals, just a drawing of somewhere in London when I went to a zero waste shop. Drawings, this was something that I did on acetate. When you lift it, it just looks like that. So And then just looking at more lids, small drawings, again in zero waste shop. Explain what a group tutorial is. Individual tutorial, it's kind of the same thing. So when you get help or guidance and feedback, start off the tutorial by just going through all of your work so far, similar to what I did just now, going through my primary research book. And then you also make sure you write down what you want to get out of the session. So if you want more contextual artists, if you want more primary ideas or more development ideas, or you need some life drawing artists, then if you just write that down so that the tutor knows and everyone else knows what you're kind of looking for. Once you show everyone all of your work, everyone gives feedback, as well as the tutor says what they like about it and what they think you can improve on and just what you could try out doing. It's one of the best things to help you just figure out what the next step is. I think it's good in a sense because depending on what you're planning on doing as a degree, in a group with people and explain your work, and your work should get to a point where it just explains itself. And so I found it really good and helpful getting a lot of feedback, a lot of suggestions. And the individual tutorial is kind of the same thing, it's just with the tutor. We'd have that every week or every 2 weeks, so it was good. You'd either have an individual or group one. So it's a bit different to just having one like normal. You're meant to complete more, like a bit development-y, but I don't think it doesn't matter too much because I was starting to make more A3 pieces, like sheets, but you need to make sure that they get mounted obviously towards the end. Started to look at plastic specifically and just waste. So this is a bin drawing that I did of just in the city, a duck, some seals, and this is not perfect, but that's the whole point, you know. It doesn't have to be, you know, Picasso. It's just rough drawings, nice drawings, just a mixture. So I used different medias, different materials. So I was doing painting and drawings, and I was using acrylic pens a lot because I really liked using them, and I was also using charcoal. So that's what I did this turtle in, and then this was done in acrylic pen, and it was probably one of my favorite drawings, but it wasn't that relevant and I couldn't use it, and I was really sad because I really liked it, but it just wasn't that relevant to the direction my final project was going on. But this is probably one of my favorites. I'm really proud of it. And then this is just a duck. And see, this is what I mean, I was getting a bit tired, so we don't need to focus on that one so much. Swan, and then turtle. This is a baby sloth. Figure out some things are useful, some things are not so relevant, and that's okay. So this is more when I started to focus on plastic pollution. So this is just splitting it. So the bones, and then normal fish, and then green streams. I was just trying to figure out where I wanted to go from here. And this is just like a cartoony, and then this is a fish. This is like a whale stuck in a bottle. I don't know if you can see it, but it's very sad. Developing this a bit further. A book that I was kind of starting to fill up needed to be mounted up or something, but it is really useful because it shows kind of what I was talking about. I did this on a screen, and then I did it again, and then from that I used acrylic pens to create a more defined version of it, and then from that I was able to create this background, and it's actually using the bin drawing that I did in the primary research, the second one. So from that you copied it on Photoshop and changed the colours and made a chicken. But like I said, it's not very relevant, like chicken, rubbish bin. There's not a lot of relation to that. But it's all part of learning, so it's fine. And this is the final one that I think I did. So you can see here that I kind of talk about the drawing and then how I did it on Photoshop, and then this is it here as a background of the refinement pieces that I did. Also using my ceramics and print, those two workshops to kind of develop further, finish off my contextuals, and I think I had about, you need 20 in total, so I might have had 4 left, I think. Critical appraisal, and that is 1,500 to 2,000 of an essay, and that is basically breaking down everything over the 10-week span, how you began, how you ended, all the different things that you did, what worked, what didn't work, what you enjoyed, talking about the workshops as well, everything. The journal is so important. Trying to remember what you did like the 2nd or 3rd week, you don't have to try, it's just in the book, so it's fine. So I found it really good just making sure I was writing everything down, and I found it helpful when I actually did the essay. And long story short, everything worked out okay, all my contextuals, everything within the essay, the statement of intent, all of it worked out fine, and I was able to have a very good final piece. It was a bit difficult because I was planning on doing a 3D model of a turtle, trying to combine plastic with that, but because of the circumstances of the pandemic, I couldn't do that. So I created a 2D piece which was inspired by 2 artists, which I'll probably remember. If you go onto my art page, my final project is on there as well, and it just all came out very, very good. Now going on to do a graphic design degree, and I'm very excited. It's gonna be exciting and an amazing journey. And if you want a video on how I did the interview process, make sure to let me know. It was so good for me. It was really good to just have that stepping stone in between 6th form to now, and then onto my degree, learning how to really manage my time with these assessments and with these short projects, especially because they were like a week long for each one sometimes. Having such creative people around me to help me and inspire me to just continue, it was just really good. Hopefully you stuck it out and you watched the whole thing. Thank you if you did. I hope you enjoyed. Good luck with next year. I'm sure it'll go really, really well, and I'll see you all very soon.